A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Nahmaduhu wa nusalli ala rasulil kareem. Last time we were discussing ayat number 3 of Surah Ar-Rahman, Khalaq al-Insan, and this is part 3 of that ayat, Khalaq al-Insan. And then part 4, and then we will conclude it after that. But I'll just recapitulate a word or two that we were discussing Khalaq al-Insan, and we had reached the point where we had discussed certain aspects of creation of insan when insan was raised from the basic material, from the basic physical material, chemical material, biological material, through various processes, cosmic evolution, biotic evolution, and then he was brought to the level of creation from in the animal world, from creation, basic creation of animal to the level of humanity, to the level of a human being. In that process, we had discussed from Quran that in fact the basic, even the meaning, the nuance of the word insan shows that it is the contrast of washat. Insan is the contrast of washat. If you want to find its further explanation, that you can find it in Len's lexicon and other lexicons also. This was the moot point. And then in that regard, we had reached another level where we were discussing that once a human being was created, we had discussed certain stages from Quran. And then a level came when its sociology had to be developed. And sociology was developed hand in hand with the biology. As the biological, biotic evolution was taking place, certain genes were being added, genes were being modified, its faculties were being developed. Along with that, by physical, chemical, biological evolution, the sociological development was taking place. It was hand in hand. And then in the very word of khalaq, which is development stage by stage. Khalaq is not like bada. Bada is that something is created at a time. It has also a process Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has explained, but particularly word khalaq is the evolutionary process through which something is developed. So in that development we had reached the point where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that in this process of evolution, khalaq, process of evolution, how the physical and social sciences were dovetailed. They grew hand in hand together. For example, at one place Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells that human being, insan, has been created from one human genome. Nafs, as it appears to me, as I have translated, you can see this explanation in my book, Know Your God, but you can look into other books also. To me, it appears, nafs has many meanings. It has many meanings, but one of the meanings is that it represents in fact, the ingredients of the meaning of nafs, represents the meanings of human genome. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that from one human genome, I have created all of you. From one human genome. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala goes on further to tell us that khalaqa minha zawjaha. From that human genome, its duplicate, its replication rather, its replicate was created. As we find, the DNA replicates itself. Similarly, here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that from that one human genome, once it was developed through the evolutionary process, I created its replicate rather, not duplicate but replicate. And then from that a different scientific word is used, bassa minhuma, from both of them together, by their unison, by their unification, I developed rijalan kasiram wa nisa, men and women I raised from that. An evolutionary process is being explained. Khalaqal insan. We are discussing Khalaqal insan, ayat 3 of Surah Ar-Rahman. And then it goes to tell us, it's there now, I think it may be clear now. From that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that I created azwajan. I did not want to create a human being just as a male or just as a female. He could have created all this population even from one male or female genome. For example, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has shown us in the Quran, and the science also accepts this. About 15 years back in England, fetus was developed without the assistance. Basically, embryo and then fetus, through the entire process, was developed without the assistance of father, by the manipulation, by the genetic engineering of chromosomes from female, just from female, no male assistance. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala could have created all these human beings, all this population, without having the opposite sex. He could have created human beings just from one female. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has shown us in the creation of the Isa alayhi salam that He could have done that. But He created us azwajan, male and female, both. Why? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that I created you so that you have sukoon, you have taskeen, you live in this world with pleasure, you enjoy your life in company, not alone, in zawjable company. لِيَسْكُنَّ إِلَيْهَا لِيَسْكُنَّ, so that you find peace in each other. But here we are living in a manner that instead of finding peace in the partner, we are living in a state of enmity, even within our own home, even with the better partner, the life partner. We are not meeting this requirement of nature, that why this has been, why we have been created azwaja. We have been created azwaja. And then further it goes to tell us that it's, although He created first Adam and Eve, and then there could have been other processes also through which this population could have been increased without any degree of prohibition. In the jungle, they could have proliferated, they could have multiplied, they could have grown. There are many ways for animals to grow. In the botanical world, there are many ways to proliferate, multiply. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that I multiplied you, I created you, nasban wa sayran. I gave you the paternal lineage and I gave you the maternal lineage. As an organized society, as a developed, as a disciplined society, as a moral society. The creation is not just the only purpose. The procreation is not for the sake of for itself only. It has a purpose, that you have tranquility, you have harmony, you have peace, you have love. You enjoy even relationships between yourselves. That is why I gave you the paternal lineage and I gave you the maternal lineage. I created you nasban wa sayran. This is part of the takhliq, khalaqal insan. Insan was not created randomly. He was created with all these future plans, purposes in line, step by step, that once the human genome is created, now this how its azwaj is zoja will be created, and then how azwajan they will be developed, and how the relationships will be created. Because the basic meaning of the word Adam is that who can live sociably, who can live together. Because of this sociability, the sociable environment was created. That nasban was sayran. From paternal and linear, from the maternal side, I gave you the lineage so that you live with sukoon. You live with human bond. You live with relationships. You live with help and support, love for each other. But now all these things are for our consideration, whether are we meeting all these requirements of our creation in the manner the evolutionary process goes on. In one of our meetings in I Seek, one of the honorable lady, for after that I didn't find her there. She was a very old lady, but now I've seen she is not attending those meetings. She had asked me a question about that when Adam and Eve were created and they had the children, how those their own children, brother and sister, they were marrying. Actually, Allah knows better. I don't know these sciences, but whatever I have tried to understand from Quran and from sciences also, and you can also put it into Wikipedia, Google, and go to these sciences which are dealing with these subjects. Now it shows that the human being was created and developed not in a linear process. Human being was created and developed in a situation like a web. We find that the human skeletons are the human beings, their remnants which have been found on earth, they are millions and millions of years old. And in those we find that different types, like orangutans, like Homo erectus, like hominid, like Homo habilis, all these different types, they were dwelling on this earth at the same time. And now the scientists agree that the cross breeding was taking place at that time among them. The cross breeding was taking place. And in that cross breeding, a further development of the further evolution took place, that the human cranial capacity was increased. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells the malaika that you wait for Savaituhu, I develop him further, I straighten him, I'll present to you. It took a process. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is referring to the process through which the human development went. Then when he is fully developed and I straighten him, I'll present before you. Saadat Ali, I think the book is about a century old in India. That alim, that scholar, he has referred to that subject also. And he says that Adam and Eve were created. When we discuss that subject, I'll go into further detail, but I have already discussed in my book, Know Your God. They were created, they were born to separate father and mother. In this wave-like evolution, that Adam and Eve were born to their mothers and mother and father, that is Homo sapiens. And then they were brought together. Saadat Ali, he has discussed it, and I think perhaps the name of the book is, if I remember correctly, it's given in my book. I think the name is Khutbatul Bahawalpur or something like that. No, anyway, that is not the subject today. We'll come to that. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that I created you, Azwaja, And then those azwaja I brought together. And then the next stage is in the evolutionary process. That is, I created you min zakar wal unsa, from male and female, so that the relationship of paternal and maternal relationship remains there. I brought you together. And then now word jal is used, not khalaka. Word is changing. And jalnakum shubam wa kabail. This shubam wa kabail is not genetically ingrained. This is a social aspect. Word jal is used. For Adam also word jal is used. Khalaq is not used. Khalaq is used for insan. Khalaq al insan. But for Adam it is used inni jailun fil ard khalifa. So here, through the process of jal making, human being, human material is now available. You can make him king, you can make him minister, you can make him commissioner, you can make him administrator, manager. That is the jal. With this process of jal, I made you kabail. I made you shuban. I gave you distinctions so that you could be identified that you belong to such and such kabail or such and such shubha. This is next step in that process, when the population multiplied. And then when I created you from zakar wal unsa, from male and female, and I made you shubam wa kabail, then I sprayed you. The science shows, the anthropology shows that as the population started multiplying initially, they were not sticking to one place. And nature was also spreading them. Sometimes there is earthquake, sometimes there is drought, sometimes there is rain, sometimes there are certain other changes. People disperse. They go to other places. They don't remain confined to one place. Human being has been made to migrate, to move further. Even in the botany, in the plant world, the fecundating winds, the winds blow in order to take the seed from one place to the other, to take the ingredients, to take the materials from one place to the other. Similarly, there are processes in nature in which man has been made in such a way that he has to keep on moving. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala encourages that why don't you do hijrat? Why don't you move? Why don't you explore my earth? Why don't you explore my heavens? Go to the other heavens. Go to the other planets. The universe has been created dynamic. Similarly, man has been created dynamic. Not for a single moment the blood circulation stops. Not for a single moment the heart stops. Not for the single moment the breath stops. If there is a stop, it's finished. So the entire universe, even the human body, not only the cosmotic body, but even the biotic body, they have all been created with dynamism. Here, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, then I made you muntashir, tantashirun, so that you spread. If you have gone to the villages, to the rural areas in any country, in any situation, any civilization, you will find even one dwelling, a separate dwelling is built for the, as soon as the son grows up, as the family grows. They don't create, housing like we have, wall to wall. Except the Havelis in some cases, but most of the population will find the habitats grow singularly, independently, each person a unit of family, particularly unit of family. As soon as he is married, they live separately. They need privacy. They are spreading. This is the first starting point of spreading. Then you will find that those villages, if they belong to the same tribe, they grow with some distance. Hazrat Musa alayhi salam's 12 tribes, They were not just mixed together to lose their identity, but they were settled in settlements, in subdivisions, in 12 subdivisions, and they were given separate water supply. For each subdivision, they had a separate water supply. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us when He struck the sea, when He struck the earth, and there were 12 fountains for 12 tribes. Now, there is a degree of privacy between the individuals and also among the groups. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, I sprayed you. This is how now the next stage is coming, the development of culture and civilization. Then I sprayed you. And then I sprayed you in the world, in this evolutionary process, because this cosmic and biotic evolution, they compel human beings. The world history written by Ben Finger, it shows how the human populations and races, they spread in the world. If they are not spreading, then the earthquakes take place, then other changes, climatic changes take place, and the population is forced to move. They're forced to move, and mainly after he has analyzed it in very great detail, that you will find that periodically there is a inflow of new blood. New blood is infused from the mountains. People roll down from the mountains, come to the plains, go along the rivers, reach the sea, and their journey continues. And whenever this population movement becomes stagnant, they don't move, another event takes place. What happened in the last wars in the South Asia? If the population becomes undynamic, static, stagnant, they lose the dynamism of their civilization and culture, then some other civilization moves in and injects new dose of blood and new dose of thinking, new dose of energy. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that I spread you in the world, in the earth, with periodicity, with periodicity. There is a time for every civilization. If they don't maintain their tempo, if they don't maintain their dynamism, they will die. They will go up to a certain moment and then they will die. What has happened to the Muslims? Before that, what happened to the Christians? Before that, what happened to the Jews? And in the subcontinent, you find different civilizations, what happened to them? You have to maintain your dynamism, your speed. And different processes have been explained. I'm not going to that. Tantashirun, Anshakum, these are different processes. These are different cultural and cultural processes in which how these developments take place. But I'm focusing only on the part of evolution, which is going hand in hand with other developments. Now, وَمِمَّنْ خَلَقْنَا أُمَّةً. The ultimate objective was to create you as a community from the nafsum wahidatan, from nafsin wahidatin, created zoja, azwaja, and azwaja created you shuba, kabail, and then from next stage I developed you in such a way that I ultimately wanted to bring you as communities, as civilized community. Ummat, word ummat itself, in its meaning, it has the ingrained meaning, a civilized society. Ummatam wusta means the moderate civil society. Moderate civil society. It is ingrained in the meaning. It's not just Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted to create just a conglomerate of population. Civilized society. I wanted to make you a civilized society. And Ummatam Wusta, civil moderate society. Not to the extreme. You are not to the left, you are not to the right. You are in the middle. Ummatam Wusta. I wanted to make you ummat. وَمِمَّنْ خَلَقْنَا ummatan. And then once I created you as ummat, then there are certain other processes also within the ummat. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, I gave you sharia. I gave you, if I wanted, I could have made you one ummat. But the sociological process went on. That is why in this part of evolution, the biotic evolution had this purpose in mind. It was not without a purpose that the biotic evolution was taking place in the animal world without any purpose. It had a social purpose. And social purpose here, physical and social sciences were working together at the same time, hand in hand. Why certain scientific changes were taking place? In order to support the next sociological change, in order to develop the ummat. And then I'm leaving this here, not going into the next part of the development as ummat. Now this is so far as the khalaqal insan, part 4 is concerned. We have covered part 4. Now I would like to come the last part of khalaqal insan. Otherwise the discussion will go on and it will not end. I'm coming to the next part. That is, I think with this today, I hope I'll be able to conclude the discussion on Khalaq al-Insan. This is the fifth one, the fifth part. وَعَلَّمَ آدَمَ الْأَسْمَاءَ كُلَّهَا. We simply translated that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I taught Adam the names. That's all. But what is the meaning? What is the science in it? Why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying such a great thing in this process of takhleeq? In this takhleeq, when Adam was created, before this product was released in the universe, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving a demonstration, gave the information to the other creations, the angels. He gave them the right of information. He notified. Not only notified, but he demonstrated, he presented Adam alayhi salam, and there he says that وَعَلَّمَ آدَمَ الْأَسْمَاءَ كُلَّهَا. He was not just created in wilderness and one day he was born and he grew up and he started working. No. It was with a purpose, scientifically. Now what does this mean? With this limited approach which we are discussing, I'm not going into the detailed approach of the explanation of this ayat, only this one. It has two aspects at least. What does this asma mean? It has many aspects. One aspect is that it involves at least two important concepts. وَعَلَّمَ الْآدَمَ أَسْمَاءَ كُلَّهَا. Everything. Now, onomastic and the metonymy. You can put it into Google, you can put it into dictionary, you can put it into Wikipedia, you can put it into any encyclopedia and find out what this is. Aspect of the teaching of asma. Now, onomastic aspect relates to the study of history and origin of proper names. I had forwarded a book to you, I had forwarded to the group, book on onomastics in Quran. Every word, the proper name which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given in Quran, like Mount Judi, the boat of Hazrat Nuh alayhi salam goes and stops at Judi. We have translated it as a proper name, but what is the meaning of this? What is the purpose of this? I've explained that in my book. Now, similarly, Ibrahim alayhi salam, Musa alayhi salam, Isa alayhi salam, these proper nouns represent their exact attributes, their exact qualities, their exact character. This is called onomastics. There's a book on this, onomastics in Quran, and I had circulated that book. The history and origin of proper names. Word Jahannam, what does this mean? Was there any Jahannam on this earth which was called Jahannam? You will find in these books these details. And then the metonymy, for name or attribute or adjunct for that which is meant. You have seen in the root of, I have been emphasizing this, that the root itself of any word of Quran, root itself is a philosophy in itself. Each root is a philosophy. Each root has not just one meaning, it has a nuance, it has a lot of meanings. And it is a scientific way. Arabic is a scientific language which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala selected for Quran and developed it for Quran. And Arabic developed because of the Arabic of Quran, the way it has been developed. Now the metonymy and onomastics in asma kullaha, of everything, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created this science and taught Adam alayhi salam. In every word, in every syllable of Quran, in every dhamma kasar of Quran, of any word, there is a science, there is a meaning, there is a nuance, there is a depth in it. As we have studied in the meaning of insan, I have only referred to certain aspects of it. I don't know where. See, again, I lost it. Where is I don't know where to go. Anyway, now I'll proceed with this. Arabic root works on a root system. There is a system. If you want to study any meaning of any word of Quran, we have to understand the root. Root itself is a philosophy. It has depth. It has nuance. It has many meanings. It has a system of derivatives, not just one. It's a scientific language, it's a wonder of God. Arabic language is the wonder of God in human communication which He has created. But we don't understand, we don't study it. In these meanings, in different meanings, this word insan, khalaqal insan, from the root has been used. I'll not go into these discussions, but each nuance has been explained separately in different derivatives from anas, insan, ins, unas, annas, different meanings. But we have been translating it as just insan, insan, insan. I'll show you. Khalaqal insan, what does that mean? I hope we have time to complete this today. May I proceed? Okay, thank you. Now, it's one of the basic meanings is form signifies perception. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given very specific strengths, depths, and specific strengths of understanding as compared to other animals. Signifies perception, sight, foresight, hindsight, knowledge, sensation, because man has been given these faculties in one word. Now if we take just one aspect, we saw perception, inception, insight, everything, but if we take just one word, perception, it is so many meanings. And all these meanings, you kindly consider this, are available to human being in his features. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told the Malaika, فَسَوَيْتُهُ, I first perfect him, I'll present before you. These processes were being developed, neurons were being added, new lobes in the brain were being created, the cranial capacity was increased from 500 to 1500. At one place in Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Ar-Rahman, Nafrugh lakum ayyuhas sakalan. Dual has been used. Oh, the two creations who are subject to the gravity, sakalan, sakal. I am going to now focus my attention on you. I am going to give you, I'm just trying to, Allah doesn't need anything to focus, that I'm just trying to explain it. That now I am going to attend to you. Two sakalan, two creations who are subject to the gravity, and now at many places they have been discussed together in Quran. I'll come to that aspect. That's why I'm slowly coming to that. Now, in these sakalan, in these creations, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving, using the word insan, a chosen, select, particular or special friend or companion. He's created insan with these faculties, with these attributes. Are we insan today? Behaving like insan today? Are we anis in our home? Last time I discussed it. Are we anis within the family, within the company? The word ins has so many meanings, so many aspects. A chosen select, he is the chosen creation of God. Insan is the chosen creation. It is the highest creation, ashraful makhlukat. Select, particular, a special friend or companion. And then insan, from the root, it is the domesticated or domestic as opposed to the wild. When we say insan, it means it is opposed to the wild. He cannot remain wild. But are we insan today? Aren't we wild? Isn't our behavior wild? Particularly wild with the weak, particularly wild with wife, with his spouse, with parents when they grow old. In the beginning I showed that insan is the antonym of Vashi, is the opposite of Vashi. We discussed last time, but today in the beginning I showed that. And then the other meaning is domestication. Domestic as opposed to the wild. Human being is not wild. He cannot remain in the wilderness as a wild animal. He has to remain in a civilized, cultured unit of life. Even for the monkey, even for the donkey and other animals, when they are domesticated, word insyatun is used. When we say that Homerun insyatun, it means the donkey which has been domesticated. This is Arabic. You can verify this from any dictionary. Man is domesticated. He is the cultured animal. He is the social animal. He is the domesticated animal. But how rash we are in our family particularly. How rash we are with the weak. How do we behave with our servants? With the ghulam? With slaves? How we behave? Sold them. We sold their children. We sold their wives. We sold their mothers. How rash we are. Now I come to the point after this discussion. Why the question arises? Ins and jinn have been mentioned together, ayyuha sakalan. And whenever jinn is used, why ins has been used, not insan? Why? I have given these ayat. You go into that. At places where his khalaqal insan min salsalin kal fakhar wal khalaqal jan min marijim min nar. There insan and jan have been used, yes, but not in the same phrase, in two separated parts of the sentence, and both of them are separate sentences. Khalaqal insan min salsalin kal fakhar, one sentence, and khalaqal jana min marijim min nar. But within the sentence, in the same phrase, wherever it has been used with ins and jinn. Why not insan and jinn? We need to understand Quran. It requires study. Nobody else will study. Human beings have to study. It is not just for Muslims. We have monopolized it. It is a book of heritage for the entire humankind. We should open it up so that everybody reads it, Muslims and non-Muslims. So far as Hidayat is concerned, it is from God, not from man. Why ins and jinn together? So many ayat. Ins wal jinn, jinn and ins, jinn wal ins wal jinn. As we go further, jinn wal ins wal jinn, Jinn wal ins wa tayr in surah in the qasas of Hazrat Sulaiman alayhi salam, word tayr has also been used along with these two words. And then jinn wal ins, why ins and jinn together? This is a separate subject for discussion. We'll discuss it inshallah sometime, if God willing. God willing. Here, why it is they are being added, ayyuha sakalan, ya ma'shar al jinn wal ins. Why ma'shar has been used and ins and jinn, group of two, both. Sanafrug lakum ayyuha sakalan, remember the promise of God. We have reached in science the stage of robots. We can use the molecules. We can use the atoms in atomtronics has been created. A new material has been created, atomtronics. Now are we coming after this promise of God to the level when their jinn and ins were working together with under Sulaiman alayhi salam? It means there is a possibility. And Allah is addressing both together, Ya Ma'shar al-Jinn. Ma'shar is used for a homogeneous group. Keep this in mind. It's not for a mob, not for a disjointed group. When it is Ma'shar, it means a homogeneous group. It means there is a possibility. Science is moving towards that. Toward that possibility. Ya Ma'shar al-Jinn wal ins. A homogeneous group of jinn and ins. Jinn and ins has been used, not insan. Why? These are the questions which we need to understand, and I try to just mention them because time is going too fast for me. And then, why Jinnat wan nas? Not even jinn, not jan. Jinnat wan nas. Again, Jinnat wan nas. Jinnat wan nas. There must be some difference. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses even the small syllable like Dhamma Kasar with some great meaning in it. Why Jinnat? Then if you go further, Nas, Annas and Unnas. What is the difference between Nas, Annas, Unnas? Why? We have translated Quran just with one word. Insan, 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 Insan. Ins means insan, nas means insan, unnas means insan, annas means unsan. Jinnat means jinn, jinn means jinn, jan means jinn. That's all. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Muhammad, have you locked your hearts? Come to the Quran with open mind. But we are not going to the Quran with open mind. We say, no, so and so Imam said this, so and so Mullah said this, so and so interpret this, so that's, I have accepted that. I have said Amana, Sadaqna, and I will not use my mind. Apply your mind in Quran. Understand it. Open your mind. Come to Quran with open mind. Surah Muhammad is inviting. And on the day of judgment, Quran tells that that Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, will lodge a complaint before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He lodged a petition, complaint, that my qawm, what qawm is used, I will not explain it further, that they made Quran mahjura. They tied it up so that nobody reads it, nobody understands it, nobody reflects into it. They did not make it a human heritage. They did mahjura. And then, I'll not go into these details. Are we anis? Unnas. What is the difference between annas and unnas? What unnas is used? Kad alima kullu unnasin mashrabum. When Musa alayhi salam was given water, 12 wells for unnas. For unnas. We go further. Different derivatives. I'm not going to these details, but now I'll try to sum up. Wherever word insan has been used, I'm not discussing each derivative because there is no time. I've already, I think, used double time. With reference to the creation, evolution and conduct, word insan has been used. خلق الإنسان من طين خلق الإنسان من تراب خلق الإنسان من طين لازم خلق الإنسان من صلالة من طين. And the human conduct, I'll show that. wherever human conduct is discussed, word insan has been used. Be insan, be anis. And wherever rational comparison with rational being is used, jinn and ins. Ins, the one who has agahi, who understands, who knows, who has the capacity to learn, and so many other features. Now we go further. And insan for human conduct in the creation has been used. Now we are going to the linguistics. It's on the pattern of Failan, Rahman. It has a depth. It is not just the superficial meaning of insan. It has to be deep. Insan is on the pattern of Failan, insan. Rahman is Failan. It has a depth. It has a vastness. This is a very deep aspect and subject which needs greater discussion. Now, this is Len who is saying this, that from insan as though were a dual, Failan, meaning a double associate, and associate with the jinn and with the mankind. Man has been created, word Adam means sociable, who can live together. He is associate of human being. One human being alone cannot live in this world. One human being alone he cannot live. Say there was no population of 7 billion people, just there was one human being, one Adam. No, he cannot. He needed Zawja. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling Adam alayhi salam, Anta wa Zawjuka, both of you make your Jannat your home. Make your home as Jannat. Live in your home as a Jannat. Dual. And he is associate of jinn. For Iblis, for Shaitan, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, he is Kana min al jinn. Adum Mubin. The meaning of Adum Mubin, as we have translated, the enemy. That the meaning, basic meaning of Aduvan is that he is the necessary other parallel, like a bank. A river has two banks. River can't be with one bank. A river has two banks. Within two banks there is a river. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is addressing Sakalan. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is addressing the dual. And God says that Adum Mubin, it means he is the necessary evil for you. And you have to save yourself from that. Because it gives you waswasa, it gives you options. There are certain features in computer which are very necessary. Without that it cannot work. The internet cannot work if there are no options. He gives you options. These are other scientific aspects. I'm not going into those details, but it is Failan, on the pattern of Failan. You can see Len's lexicon for that. Now, human being both and male and female, again dual, and then I'll not go into these details also. I will just mention in briefly, insan. Wherever insan has been used, it is highlighting one or the other aspect of conduct and creation. Creation with conduct, insan. Ins is reflecting the rationality that they can rationalize. Jinn, they can rationalize. Surah Jinn also tells us that they can rationalize. They are discussing certain aspects. All these ayat show that the human attributes, human conduct is discussed wherever word insan is used. Insan, attributes, conduct. In the evolutionary process, this was already in the plan, that how he will behave. All these ayat, lot many ayat. Now I just summed the khalaqal insan, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we are discussing insan, therefore I have not gone into much detail about khalaqal ins wal jinn. I'm not discussing that, but I've simply pointed out we were concerned with khalaqal insan. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us that how I evolved this species and human being with these qualities, and brought him to this stage with a certain conduct. That is discussed in the word insan. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun wa salamun alal mursalin walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. If there are any questions,
Okay, we can have question or two. Anybody? I'll have dua first. Okay, we'll have the dua first, and then we can ask if enough time. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى اله وصحبه وسلم. اللهم اهدنا فيمن هديت وعافنا فيمن عافيت وتولنا فيمن توليت وبارك اللهم لنا فيما اعطيت وقنا واصرف عنا شر ما قضيت. اللهم ادخلنا برحمتك في عبادك الصالحين. اللهم اخرجنا من ظلمات الجهل والوهم الى انوار العلم. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما. اللهم اجعلنا ممن يستمعون القول فيتبعون احسنه. اللهم اكفنا بحلالك عن حرامك وبطاعتك عن معصيتك وفضلك عن من سواك. اللهم بفضلك ورحمتك على كلمة الحق والدين. اللهم انصر الإسلام وعز المسلمين يا أكرم الأكرمين. Oh Allah, spread your mercy upon us, shower us with your blessing, increase our knowledge, grant us forgiveness, and reward us with the company of the prophets in Firdaus al-A'la. Oh Allah, purify our heart, strengthen our faith, increase our knowledge, and make us benefit from what you have taught us. Oh Allah, remedy our sick. Oh Allah, guide our children, protect them and make them righteous. Oh Allah, forgive our parents and all the believers and grant them the Firdaus al-A'la. Oh Allah, we ask you with every name you have elected for yourself, let none of us leave this gathering, but his pains have been relieved, his worries have been removed, his debts have been paid, his weaknesses have been concealed, his sins have been forgiven, and his needs have been fulfilled. Subhanallah wa bihamdih, adada khalqih wa rida nafsih wa zinata arshih wa midada kalimatih. Subhanallah wa bihamdih, adada khalqih wa rida nafsih wa zinata arshih wa midada kalimatih. Subhanallah wa bihamdih, adada khalqih wa rida nafsih wa zinata arshih wa midada kalimatih. والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على خير المرسلين. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. Your question, question. Okay. Must be challenging.